Welcome to Reading the Bible Together, and today we're going to do something a bit different. We're going to look at chapters 7 and 8 together, but as we do, we're going to undo the weaving together of the two accounts of Noah and the flood, which these chapters tell. Now, first of all, don't panic. The Bible itself is very comfortable with telling the same story or relating the same historical account in different ways. Most familiar to us would be the major New Testament tellings of the birth of Jesus and the resurrection accounts. The birth accounts given by Matthew and Luke are quite different. We weave them together into an overall story of the Nativity, where we include all the elements together. The New Testament keeps them separate. With the resurrection, each gospel version gives its own telling of the story with many differing details, but it is possible still to meld those four accounts together into one, ironing out the differences. But the Bible doesn't do that. There's such a respect for each of the accounts as genuine that the compilers of Scripture didn't meddle with these accounts, but allowed them to exist side by side. Now, in the same way, there are two strands of tradition which tell the Noah story. Rather than have them one after the other, like the creation story, the Noah account does something unique. It weaves the two together, leaving each one intact without changing any of the unique details, but making a single story out of the two nonetheless. Sort of like when a husband and wife are telling a story and they keep interrupting each other with this detail or that, this revision or that, sometimes speaking at the same time. Now, even when our eyes are closed, we can tell when it's the husband talking and when it's the wife. The sound of their voices would be different. With the Noah story, it's the language and the terminology which is different, and that's what makes it possible for us to untangle those two stories. Now, scholar Richard Elliott Friedman tells us more. He calls the strands J and P. Listen as he explains. He says, the P story consistently refers to the deity as God. The J story always uses the name Yahweh. P refers to the sex of the animals with the words male and female. J uses the terms man and his woman, as well as male and female. P says that everything expired. J says that everything died. P has one pair of each kind of animal. J has 7 pairs of clean animals and 1 pair of unclean animals. Now, clean means kosher and fit for sacrifice. Sheep are clean. Pigs, for instance, are unkosher and unclean. P pictures the flood as lasting a year, 370 days. J says it was 40 days and 40 nights. P has Noah send out a raven. J says a dove. P obviously has a concern for ages and dates and measurements and cubits. He goes through all of this part of the ark and that part of the ark. J does not. Now, the two flood stories are separable and complete. Each has its own language, its own details, and even its own way of talking about God. And even that is not the whole picture. The J flood story's language, details, and conception of God are consistent with the language and details and conception of God in other J stories in the Old Testament. And the P flood story is consistent with other P stories, and so on. Now, thank you for that explanation, Professor Friedman. What I find most inspiring is that the ones who wove these accounts together had such a respect for each strand of tradition that they didn't sacrifice a single word of each one, but they blended them in such a way that each is perfectly preserved. Now, what I'm going to do today is to unweave that story and read you first chapter 7 of the J, or the Yahweh version, and then the P version. You'll see that even when they're unwoven, each gives us a complete account. So here we go. And to make things clear, in the J version, I'll refer to God as Yahweh, which is what J does. I'm using the same translation Professor Friedman uses in his work. And you'll notice, too, that the story starts back in chapter 6 again. So first, listen to J's account. Starting in chapter 6, verse 5. And Yahweh saw that the evil of humans was great in the earth, and all the inclination of the thoughts of their heart was only evil all the day. And Yahweh regretted that he had made humans in the earth, and he was grieved to his heart. And Yahweh said, I shall wipe out the humans which I created from the face of the earth, from human to beast to creeping thing to bird of the heavens, for I regret that I have made them. But Noah found favor in Yahweh's eyes. On to chapter 7. Yahweh said to Noah, come, you and all your household, to the ark, for I have seen you as righteous before me in this generation. Of all the clean beasts, take yourself 7 pairs, man and his woman, and of the beasts which are not clean, 2, man and his woman. Also of the birds of the heavens 7 pairs, male and female, to keep alive seed on the face of the earth. For in 7 more days I shall reign on the earth 40 days and 40 nights, and I shall wipe out all the substance that I have made from upon the face of the earth. And Noah did all that Yahweh had commanded him. And Noah and his sons and his wife and his sons' wives came with him to the ark from before the waters of the flood. And 7 days later, the waters of the flood were on the earth, and there was rain on the earth 40 days and 40 nights, and Yahweh closed it for him. And the flood was on the earth for 40 days and 40 nights, and the waters multiplied and raised the ark, and it was lifted from the earth. And the waters grew strong and multiplied greatly on the earth, and the ark went on the surface of the waters. And the waters grew very, very strong on the earth, and they covered all the high mountains that are under all the heavens. 15 cubits above, the waters grew stronger, and they covered the mountains. Everything that had the breathing spirit of life in its nostrils, everything that was on the dry ground died. And he wiped out all the substance that was on the face of the earth, from human to beast, to creeping thing, and to bird of the heavens, and they were wiped out from the earth, and only Noah and those who were with him in the ark were left. And now P tells the story, starting in Genesis chapter 6, verse 9. These are the generations of Noah. Noah was a righteous man, perfect in his generations. Noah walked with God. And Noah sired 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And the earth was corrupted before God, and the earth was filled with violence. And God saw the earth, and here it was corrupted, for all flesh had corrupted its way on the earth. And God said to Noah, the end of all flesh has come before me, for the earth is filled with violence because of them. And here I am going to destroy them with the earth. Make yourself an ark of gopher wood. Make rooms with the ark, and pitch it outside and inside with pitch. And this is how you shall make it: 300 cubits the length of the ark, 50 cubits its width, 30 cubits its height. You shall make a window for the ark, and you shall finish it to a cubit from the top, and you shall make an entrance to the ark in its side. You shall make lower, first, second, and third stories for it. And here I am bringing the flood, water over the earth, to destroy all flesh, in which is the breath of life from under the heavens. Everything which is on the land will die. And I shall establish my covenant with you. And you shall come to the ark, you and your sons and your wife and your sons' wives with you. And of all the living of all flesh you shall bring 2 to the ark to keep alive with you. They shall be male and female. Of the birds according to their kind, and of the beasts according to their kind, and of all the creeping things of the earth according to their kind, 2 of each will come to you to keep alive. And you take for yourself all food which will be eaten, and gather it to you, and it will be for you and for them for food. And Noah did according to all that God had commanded him, so he did. And Noah was 600 years old, and the flood was on the earth. Of the clean beasts and of the beasts which were not clean, and of the birds and of all those which creep upon the earth, 2 of each came to Noah to the ark, male and female, as God had commanded Noah. In the 600th year of Noah's life, in the 2nd month, and the 17th day of the month, on this day all the fountains of the great deep were broken up, and the windows of the heavens were opened. In this very day, Noah and Shem, Ham, and Japheth, the sons of Noah, and Noah's wife, and his sons' 3 wives with them, came to the ark, they and all the living things according to their kind, and all the beasts according to their kind, and all the creeping things that creep on the earth according to their kind, and all the birds according to their kind, and every winged bird. And they came to Noah to the ark, 2 of each, of all flesh in which is the breath of life. And those which came were male and female. Some of all flesh came as God had commanded him. And all flesh, those that creep on the earth, the birds, the beasts, the wild animals, and all the swarming things that swarm on the earth, and all the humans expired. And the waters grew strong on the earth 150 days. Well, Next time, J and P tell us how it ends. And we'll see you then.